It was the dirty little secret hidden behind closed doors and kept within families. Now victims are finding the courage to speak up about domestic violence. The statistics are indeed staggering. In New York City alone, there are around 240,000 911 calls for domestic violence incidents every single year. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have been victims of severe violence at the hands of an intimate partner. Domestic violence homicides account for more than 17% of all murders in New York City. And that tragedy hits communities of color hardest. More than 50% of those victims are African American, 27% Latino. In a moment, you'll hear from a survivor, a mom and wife who was once a victim of domestic violence and is now an inspiration to others going through the same trauma she experienced. We'll also meet dedicated advocates who are shining a harsh spotlight on domestic violence, taking it out of the family home and into the courts. Then, in honor of Women's History Month, we'll look back at the day Brooklyn's own Ruth Bader Ginsburg took her place on the highest court in the land. That's all coming up on In Focus. My first guests know all too well the pain of domestic violence victims. Monica is a survivor, brutalized and traumatized by her ex-husband. She regained control of her life, and she's now a survivor leader at an organization called Sanctuary for Families. We're also pleased to have the Honorable Judy Kluger. She spent 11 years as a prosecutor in the Brooklyn DA's office and more than 2 decades as a judge in the criminal court system. She's now the executive director of Sanctuary for Families. Thanks to both of you for being here. And we must say, this Women's History Month, we did not coordinate our colors. This was a happy coincidence.
Power panel.
Power panel with power red. Okay. Monica, thank you especially for being here. This is your first time telling your survivor story on television. You were in a marriage for quite some time and you freed yourself, and it wasn't easy. What gave you the courage to seek help from Sanctuary for Families?
My daughter. I knew the last incident which had occurred, she was a witness, and I did not know how that experience was landing inside of her. And I said, I have to get help because I have to give her the tools and the space to unpack that. And I was on a train station one day, and I looked up and I saw a sign that said Sanctuary for Families, which I had never heard of. And I thought, let me call them and see if I can get some counseling. And here I am.
And here you are, a free woman. Judge Kluger, you, as a prosecutor, could not advocate. As a judge, you could not advocate. But now that you've been retired for 5 years, you advocate. This
Absolutely.
is a dream come true for you.
It is a dream come true. And the ability for us at Sanctuary for Families, not just to provide our clients with legal help and counseling and job training. We can go to Albany, we can go to the city council and say, these are the things our clients need from our lawmakers. And we were just instrumental in helping pass a cyber sexual abuse statute because our clients were being victimized with the new technologies that are available now. So yes, I can advocate and have a staff of over 200 that are out there helping our clients in any way possible.
So you are retired, but you still have a full-time job.
Yes, absolutely, a great full-time job.
A very fulfilling
Yes.
full-time job. Monica, you know, there are so many women who may even be watching, and some men, who say, but my child, I don't want my child to not live in the household with my spouse. How do you answer that for people who say, well, I don't want my child to be with a single parent?
It is better for a child to come from a broken home than to live in one, because the freedom allows the opportunity for each person to pursue their path of healing and happiness, while if you stay in that situation, you know ultimately it's just going to be continued violence, and someone could get hurt or even potentially die, as happens far too often.
Yes, tragically, it does happen very often. Judge, let's talk about the Domestic Violence Survivors Justice Act. What do you hope for that?
So it's now, hopefully, will pass this year. And what that does is allow judges to consider domestic violence histories in women who, and mostly women, who are in prison as a result of being a victim of domestic violence, or even resentenced in cases where people are incarcerated as a result of being victims of domestic violence.
Yeah. And Monica, you are a survivor leader now with Sanctuary for Families. Tell me what your critical piece of advice for women who are in the shoes you were in years ago.
You're not alone.
Yeah, because women do feel, and men who are victims, they do feel alone.
A big part of the victimization is isolation, and typically it can even be guilt-related. They need to know that they're not alone. An organization like Sanctuary is exactly as it sounds, a place of sanctuary where you can come out of the character of someone else's story. That's not your story. That's not your life. That is an experience, an unfortunate experience that you're having, but that's not the beginning nor the ends.
Right, and Judge, you see women like Monica all the time.
Yes.
Sanctuary for Families has been around since...
It's about 35 years, 1984.
1984.
Yeah.
And it has a multi-pronged approach. But where's the starting line?
Anywhere a client or a woman wants it to be.
Because it's different for every single...
It's different for everyone, and people have to be ready when they're ready to get our services. But if they need shelter, it's there. If they need lawyers, you know, Monica had the benefit of a fabulous lawyer that helped her, as well as counseling. We have an amazing job training program because women have to be able to be safe and independent and be able to take care of themselves and their children to really be free of any abuse. So wherever someone is, we want to meet them there, make sure they're safe, and give them the services they need.
Do you have enough money and resources to do?
Never enough.
Never enough.
But we have, fortunately, New York City is a very generous city, both from the government side, the city council, and others. We're able to, Human Resources Administration, we get some state funding, and we also have wonderful foundations and individuals that support us.
Right. And Monica, you also dance.
Yes.
Part of your therapy, is it fair to say?
Yes, it has definitely been part of the therapy. With Gina Gibney, we have created a dance interpretive, which came out of workshopping. So each survivor actually created her own movement. And we perform this piece wherever we can, whenever it is requested. And I can tell you that every single time I have performed the piece, at least 2 or 3 people come out of the audience and say, you told my story. I'm a survivor. And it had been the first time that they'd spoken about it. So we know that it's very impactful. We know that it's necessary. And we know that it's a wonderful healing tool.
Right. You know, let's talk a little bit about the emotional abuse. Very often, victims will feel, but the whole family will be mad at me if I leave him. My parents, his parents, grandparents, you know, they feel it would disrupt the family, so I'll just stay to keep everyone comfortable.
Yeah, you may keep everyone else comfortable, but for you and your children, it's not the place to be. And there are a lot of pressures, societal pressures. Sometimes it's cultural, sometimes it's religious, to keep the family together. But the family is not together, as Monica said, in a situation of domestic violence. So there is help out there. There's help for parents and children to not feel the pressures of society, but rather move ahead with your life.
Right. I want you to have the final word. I have 30 seconds. What's the most important piece of advice that you would give someone who's perhaps watching you right now, afraid to leave, afraid to make their child a single parent?
As I said before, it's better to come from a broken home than to live in one. There is help. You're not alone. And your freedom is on the other side of your suffering and pain. And there's a place for you to unpack that story, to come out of it, and to reclaim and redefine your life as it should be.
And you're a witness.
I'm a witness. I'm a supporter. I'm an advocate. I'm here.
She's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, you are here. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. And Judge, thank you.
Thank you.
It's so nice to see you. We'd love to have you back.
We'll come back anytime.
Absolutely. Okay, still ahead on In Focus. One very big reason why victims cannot escape their abusers is legal help. It's not easy getting a divorce or splitting up custody of children. Manhattan City Councilwoman Carlina Rivera is one of the sponsors of a bill that aims to change that. She joins us next, along with a senior attorney who's with a group called Her Justice. We'll be right back.